Hey guys, yeah, I'm here with my AEW Full Gear preview. I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched much AEW, just like I haven't watched much SmackDown or Raw. I mean, I'm still a fan, don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of in that mode to where when I watch it, I gotta watch it because it's good. It can't be something that's gonna be predictable. Like with SmackDown, the reason I'm not watching it, even though I should, it's the best out of the two, Raw and SmackDown, between the two, I should say. The reason I'm not watching it is because I've seen this story with the Usos and Roman Reigns. I've seen it play out before, and I know where it's going to be heading. Yes, it's exciting. It's something fresh and new for Roman, but we all know where it's heading. We know that. And the only reason Roman's in this role is right now because WWE has yet to reach an agreement with Brock Lesnar. They want Brock Lesnar back, even though they've given up on trademarking his name. They still want him back, and that's the only reason Reigns is in this role right now, because they don't have Lesnar back. Guarantee you, if Lesnar was under contract right now, Reigns would be a babyface, and you all know that. And you all know that. You all watching this know that to be a fact. They wouldn't be going this direction with Roman if Brock was here. You know that. Anyway, I'll talk about that probably in another video. But here, let's talk about AEW Full Gear tomorrow night on pay-per-view from the Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. There are 8 official matches on the main card, 1 buy-in match. The original buy-in match was supposed to be Orange Cassidy and John Silver. They decided to move that to the main card, and instead, in its place, we're going to get an NWA Women's World Championship match. It'll be the new champion, Serena Deeb, formerly of the Straight Edge Society in WWE, and a former trainer in NXT, at the Performance Center, that is. She'll be defending the championship, I should say, against Allison Kay, the former Sienna in Impact Wrestling. Allison Kay is a former NWA Women's Champion, and I expect Allison Kay to go and make it 2 on the buy-in. I really do. And I think the reason this is going to happen is because it'll get a lot of people's attention that, hey, if this title change of a major women's championship, wrestling championship, can happen on a pre-show, then what else could happen then it's going to make people wonder, what could happen on the main pay-per-view itself. So I expect Allison Kay to beat Serena. I mean, I like Serena. I think she's deserving of this. She's a great athlete, but I've always viewed Serena as being someone that, when it's needed, she's put into a transitional role. In other words, she's put into a transitional role that's like filler. It's like it's like she's just there to fill time, fill a spot until the next thing comes around, or the next person they want to put the spotlight comes around, and then that person's the one that they strap the rocket to and go all the way with. And that's exactly what I see happening here. I see Serena dropping the title to Allison Kay. Allison Kay, the formerly Sienna. I see that happening, and I see the result of this, or the aftermath of this, being Allison challenging the winner of the AEW Women's Championship match down the line in a champion versus champion, title for title, winner take all situation. I could see that, and I think that's why Allison will win the championship, because value-wise, name value-wise, no disrespect to Serena, Allison, aka Sienna, has more name value and recognition, and I think that's what the NWA and AEW and their partnership would like to have if they go down that route, which I believe they will. So I see Allison Kay winning the buy-in match and becoming a 2-time NWA Women's World Champion. The opening match, of course, probably will be Orange Cassidy against John Silver. Everybody from Just Alex to Solo Monster to Brian Zane of Wrestling with Regret have all said the same thing, that this match, even though it'll be a competitive one, 75% of this match will be all Orange Cassidy. He is a bigger name than John Silver, and AEW, from a business perspective, is going to want to put over Orange Cassidy more so than he's already been, and probably get him into that contention for a potential world title opportunity down the line. I mean, we've already seen him compete for the TNT title. Now it's time to take that next step and have him compete for the AEW World title. And I think this match with John Silver is that first step. And I do predict Orange Cassidy to win. Okay, next matchup, Chris Jericho against MJF, who will be accompanied by Wardlow, if you will. That's the name right there, Wardlow. Everybody's going back and forth on this with Jericho and MJF. But one thing everybody has agreed with, and I agree with it, I agree with it as well, is Chris Jericho, even if he does defeat the young talent, that during the match, he makes them look strong. He puts them over, makes them look strong. He makes it look like they're on the verge of victory only to snatch it away from them. So I see him doing the same thing here with MJF, but the difference being is I see him doing with MJF the same thing he did with Orange Cassidy at All Out. I see him putting over MJF, and I see MJF becoming part of the Inner Circle. Now, some have thought or predicted or suggested that MJF could end up losing thanks to a miscommunication between him and Wardlow, causing more dissension between them, thus turning Wardlow face, if you will. But I don't see that happening just yet. What I see happening is MJF winning, becoming part of the Inner Circle, and then I start seeing the seeds being planted for, MJF to take control of the Inner Circle and have the Inner Circle turn against Chris Jericho. And this is where I think not only Jericho will turn face when that moment happens, but so will Wardlow, because even he'll start realizing or looking at the fact that this is going a little too far, or this is not right. He gave you an opportunity to be part of this group, and now you're going to stab him in the back and try to take it away. So I could see, I could see the seeds being planted for that to happen, starting on the post Full Gear edition of Dynamite this Wednesday. I can see that happening. So I'm predicting MJF to win, and the seeds are going to be planted with that victory for that dissension or for that betrayal of the Inner Circle towards Chris Jericho. I could see probably one of the reasons MJF would explain to them or give reasoning for that happening is because Jericho's becoming too fan friendly. He's not the Chris Jericho that was just about doing whatever it takes to win, being what he says he is, the Le Champion, stuff like that. So I see MJF beating Chris Jericho in this matchup, and again planting the seeds for the setting betrayal down the line of the Inner Circle against Jericho and them aligning with MJF. And at the same time, I see Waldo also turning face because he's not going to appreciate seeing something like this happening. Like maybe there's some kind of integrity or honor in him that's like, hey, this guy gave us an opportunity to be part of this, but now you want to throw it. You want to stab him in the back and take over. That doesn't sit right with me. So I can see them doing that. I can honestly see them doing that with this whole situation after Full Gear. I'm not saying that the betrayal is going to happen on the post Dynamite edition of Full Gear, but I could see it happening later on. Like I could see it happening as we build towards the first AEW Dynamite of the new year. I can see that. I can see it happening in that manner. Now, with that said, let's move on to the next matchup, which is Hikaru Shida, easy for me to say, defending the AEW Women's World Title against Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose will be accompanied by Vickie Guerrero. This ought to be a good David versus Goliath match. I mean, Shida, beat, Shida, she beat Nyla for the title I think what was a pay-per-view a couple months ago. And she's been defending it as best she could whenever she gets booked, according to some people. Excuse me. So, I definitely look at this as being a good David versus Goliath match. I definitely see that. But I also see the end result being Nyla Rose walking out with the championship. And the reason I say this is because for any of us that have followed Vickie Guerrero's career in WWE, she's always been known to make sure that whoever she is the manager of or the advocate of, that they always find a way to win, that they're always going to be successful, that they always have a championship around them. So I predict Vickie Guerrero, unless they do Shida, unless they allow Shida to go over, I predict Vickie Guerrero to interfere, cause some kind of interference that's going to allow Nyla to capitalize and win the championship back, thus setting the stage for what I think AEW would like to have, or wants to build towards, as I said earlier, that champion versus champion, title for title, winner take all situation between Allison Kay and Nyla Rose, two powerhouses in both women divisions of both promotions. So I can see them doing that. I can also see them doing it with Allison Kay and Hikaru Shida. I could see that if they want to keep the title on Shida. But I'm going to go with Nyla Rose. And to me, this is going to be the start of that building towards the winner-take-all match down the line. Next match is Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. It's the Elite Deletion match. This is going to be a cinematic match, I think, emanating from the Hardy compound. First time it's been on All Elite AEW. It's going to be kind of weird to see how they're going to do the cinematic stuff, because one of the people that helped do the cinematic stuff for Matt Hardy at the Hardy compound and all that was JB, in TNA and then in WWE. But with JB in WWE right now, it makes you wonder, how is this going to work? Are they going to, is JB going to be there via Zoom maybe, and he's going to give advice, but nobody's going to know he's there because he's actually not. He's going to be communicating via Zoom or something like that to give advice. If that happens, hey, he's still under contract. He's not really doing anything wrong. He's not physically there. He's just giving advice. So who knows? But I do expect Matt Hardy to win this. And if you've seen any of the deletion matches from TNA and WWE, watching this, you're going to be in for a bonkers, unexpected, wild of a ride. I expect a lot of things to happen here. I expect all the characters associated with the Hardy compound to come into play, as well as I expect the Lake of Reincarnation to come into play, and Sammy to take a dive into it, or basically a leap into it, or be thrown into it. And I can see him coming out probably still as himself, but maybe the personality changes where he realizes, what am I doing? Why did I join this inner circle deal? I can do things on my own kind of deal. So I can expect Sammy to be tossed into there and maybe have some kind of change. But again, I expect Matt Hardy to walk out the victor of this matchup, this Elite Deletion matchup, because as far as I know, Matt Hardy, I believe, is undefeated in these deletion matches all across the board. So I expect that trend to continue. Next up, we have FTR, formerly The Revival, defending the AEW World Tag Team titles against the Young Bucks. The stipulation being is the Bucks don't win the titles, they can no longer challenge for them. Same as last year when Cody took on Jericho, stating that if he didn't beat Jericho, he would no longer challenge for the AEW World title. Well, obviously he lost, so he's not going to be challenging it for anymore. So he says, we'll find out in the future. And now the same stipulation is for the Bucks. I am in agreement with a lot of people that have previewed this show already, that I don't think they're going to pull the same, stunt twice. They're not going to make the same decision twice. The Young Bucks basically have been patient. They've been patient behind the scenes, in front of the camera. And I think this is where they're going to pull the trigger, and they're going to let the Young Bucks win the tag team titles. And I do expect a very competitive matchup between these two teams. Everybody's been wanting this matchup ever since Revival, FTR, was in WWE. They've been wanting this. FTR, Revival was trying to get out of the contracts in WWE to try to make this match happen sooner than later. But now it is indeed happening. Here's what I think is going to happen. They're playing up the fact that Matt Jackson has an injury on his ankle or his leg. I think honestly, that's nothing more than a ruse, potentially. Maybe it's not, but I think it's somewhat of a ruse in story, to where if you follow any Young Bucks matches, you know that when it looks like the opponents, the heels, got the advantage of them, all of a sudden the Bucks just pop up and all of a sudden start acting like, hey, see, nothing wrong. and then they start going into Young Buck mode, into basically super mode, if you will, Shao Kahn mode, if you will. They start doing that. They start pressing all the right buttons and hitting all the right combinations. And I expect that to happen here. I expect to have a moment where FTR thinks they have everything well in hand. They turn around, and the Bucks, and especially Matt's all prancing around, showing there's no ill effects. And then that's when they're going to go into super mode, Shao Kahn mode, press all the buttons, and basically, get FTR on the ropes. And I can see a moment where FTR will turn around and be like, they'll notice this and they'll be like, oh crap, this is what we were afraid was going to happen. Because they know, from a reputation standpoint, that when the Young Bucks get into this mode, no matter where they've been, there's no stopping them. And most of the time, 90% or 75% of the time, they come out victorious as a result. So I expect the Young Bucks to do just that in this matchup. I expect them to get to that moment where they're just going to go pull out all the stops, go Shao Kahn on FTR, and end up winning the tag team titles. I expect that to happen. And what this will do is not only set up a rematch between the two teams, but it opens the door for potential other matchups to happen down the line, for the Young Bucks. Because now the Young Bucks will be in the champion mode with the target on the back, and, they'll be the kind that will take on anybody. So I can expect the Young Bucks to win this very competitive matchup. Next matchup we have is Cody versus Darby Allin for the TNT title. This is the first time, as far as I know, this is the first time the TNT Championship is defended on pay-per-view. Usually it's only safe for Dynamite, acting like a TV title, or U.S. Championship, but mostly TV. This is the first time it's going to be defended, outside of Dynamite. And this is going to be a good matchup, because this has been building up for about a year, ever since the draw they had last year. And Darby Allin has always been on that cusp of superstardom, of breaking that glass ceiling. And I think it's going to happen here. I think Darby Allin, I think, is going to become TNT champion. He's got a look and everything that people like. He's got a personality people like. And I expect him to pull the trigger. I really, really do. But what I also expect is, I expect a Cody heel turn. I really do. And by the way, also expect this to be the first AEW pay-per-view where Cody will be pronounced as the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Because yes, Cody has his name back. He has his family name back. So expect Cody Rhodes, Cody I should say, to come out as being announced as the American Nightmare and TNT champion, Cody Rhodes. Expect that. But yeah, I expect a Cody heel turn. Just like, if Darby wins, you think Cody's going to be a sportsman about it. He's going to hold up the hand. But then that's when the heel turn will happen. Because, obviously Darby's more popular with the fans. So I expect a heel turn to probably occur. Because this is being hyped up as the pay-per-view where anything can happen. The big one of all AEW this year. They're pulling out all the stops. So don't be surprised if that occurs. But I do agree Darby Allin's going to walk out with the TNT Championship. Next matchup is the finals for the AEW World Championship Tournament, or World Championship Number 1 Contenders Tournament, or Eliminator Tournament, AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament. Hangman Page against Kenny Omega. This is going to be a good matchup. There is no doubt. It's basically a battle of the elite, if you will. A battle of elite members. You're kind of getting signs of the old Kenny Omega mixed in with a new, freshly coated paint version of it. So basically, you're getting that cleaner Kenny Omega coming back, but with kind of a new look to him and everything. So I'm going to expect a great matchup here. A lot of people saying Kenny Omega is going to win. That might be true. But you know what? I'm going to go with a surprise finish. I'm going to go with a draw. And what I'm talking about is I'm going to see these. What's going to happen is everybody's predicting Adam Page and Kenny Omega to be match of the night. I'm going to expect that match of the night to end in a draw, because both men are going to get competitive to the point that no matter how much they pull out any kind of stops, cheating, not cheating, breaking the rules, 5 counts, whatever, I expect in the end both men are going to get to a point where one of them is going to hit a finish on the other, but they won't be able to capitalize, or something's going to occur where basically they're going to get counted out and it's going to be a draw, And then you're going to be like, well, where do you go from here? And that sets up for a three-way triple threat dance down the line. So that's what I expect to happen. But there's another scenario too. If they don't do the double count out or the draw, I expect interference from Team FTW, mostly Brian Cage taking out both men. And then you'll probably have Taz getting on the mic saying, these two shouldn't have been in the finals. There shouldn't have been an Eliminator tournament. Cage is #1 contender, and he's hereby challenging the winner of the world title match for Dynamite this Wednesday, or for the final Dynamite of the year, or whatever. I could see that happening. I could see that scenario happening as well. So yeah, I look at it two ways. We're going to get a draw, or we're going to get an FTW interference, and basically the match is going to get thrown out. And that's going to set up for maybe the draw for a three-way dance, triple threat, or the interference for a fatal four-way dance situation. All right, so the main event, of course, is Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. I quit for the AEW World Championship. And this matchup, ladies and gentlemen, everybody is promoting as probably being one of the more violent matches we're going to see at Full Gear, if not in all of AEW. I mean, last year at Full Gear, it was an unsanctioned match between Moxley and Omega. They just pulled out all the stops. They pulled out a barbed wire trampoline. They pulled out thumbtacks, nails, you name it. Anything that was not nailed down, or you would never thought you'd see in the likes of WWE, but you would see in the places of CZW, or FMW, or BJW, whatever you want to call it. You saw in that matchup last year between the two. And a lot of people are saying expect something similar this year, tomorrow night, between Kingston and Moxley, because both do come from CZW. That's where both became friends. That's where both, faced each other as well in hardcore situations. And everybody's saying expect that to happen here. Who knows? I mean, just Alex, Alex, formerly Deluxe Man, just Alex, when he previewed it, he said expect syringes, expect barbed wire, expect anything that's not nailed down to come into play. I mean, he even basically said, he even alluded to the fact that, you know why you're going to expect that? Because these two come from Combat Zone Wrestling. That's where they originated from, CZW. So I would agree we're going to probably see that, because this is an I Quit match. But I see something else happening too, and I don't want to be a killjoy. But we're starting to see behind, even though we haven't seen him on screen that much when it comes to Dynamite, if at all, as himself or as in character, Tony Khan made the stipulation on Wednesday that during that face-to-face, Kingston and Moxley couldn't touch each other if the match was off. I've got a feeling Tony Khan's going to play a role in this matchup as well. And I think what's going to happen, again, maybe I'm wrong, because they want to hype this up. They want to have a pay-per-view people are going to remember for 2020. But I think what's going to happen, and again, hopefully I'm wrong, but I think there could be a possibility that it'll be announced that all weapons during this match are prohibited, and that the action has to take place in the ring for the match to end and to see who basically is indeed the toughest. In other words, we could basically just get a good old-fashioned in-the-ring brawl between Kingston and Moxley. Not saying they're going to do that, because, everybody pretty much knows about these two men's history. I mean, I know about it. I mean, when Jon Moxley went to WWE and I saw him as Dean Ambrose, I'm like, that's Jon Moxley from that CZW promotion. And then when I see Eddie Kingston showing up in Impact Wrestling and then later on Evolve and all these places, I'm like, that guy's from CZW as well. So my thought process is it's going to go one of two ways. It's going to be violent either way. It's going to be violent and brutal either way. But if you don't if we don't have Tony Khan, basically sticking his nose into the situation and saying, hey, look, this I Quit match will happen, but there will be no weapons prohibited because we don't need lawsuits. We don't need blood because of what's going on, let's just see who the toughest is in the ring and has to stay in the ring. I wouldn't be surprised. But if Tony Khan is a true wrestling fan and he is smart enough to realize the background of both men and where they come from, hopefully, he'll allow them to go and let Luke go and be, loose. Let them, just let them go all out, if you will, and, be themselves. I mean, they're building this up. I mean, if you looked at that face-to-face from Dynamite on Wednesday, that face-to-face, if that didn't sell you on how violent and brutal this match will be, I don't know what will. And again, I look at it this way. You're either going to get that potential, not all the way, but potential CZW ultra-violent matchup everybody's expecting out of the two, or you're going to just get an in-the-ring brawl between the two because Tony Khan may come out in story and in character and say, hey, all weapons are prohibited. Action has to be in the ring and in the ring only. So, and then if anybody tries to use a weapon, the match is over. So, and that competitor will be fired. Not saying they're going to go that way. Not saying they're going to go that route. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's something being considered, in story to kind of like maybe play off the fact that, Tony Khan's not exactly everything he's cracked up to be. So we don't know. But I'm hoping they don't do that and they go with what everybody's expecting, go with the violence, and, just let these two go at it and, show why they're two of the toughest men in wrestling, if not two of the most violent. But who wins this match? Who wins this match, you may ask. Well, everybody is predicting Moxley, but Brian Zane basically said in his preview that he wouldn't be surprised if maybe they put it on Kingston because, it would be kind of a nice change of pace or a unique change of pace because your first two AEW World Champions, okay. Or your first, two AEW World Champions to hold this belt are former WWE guys. Chris Jericho, first undisputed champion in WWE. 5-time, 6-time champion overall there. And you got Moxley, formerly Dean Ambrose, former Intercontinental Tag Team, US, and WWE champion, holding the belt currently. So, yeah, even Brian Zane said he wouldn't be surprised if maybe they kind of switch things up and decide to finally give it on somebody that's not a former WWE star to finally establish AEW as its own identity. And the fact that, Kingston is, just masterful on the mic when it comes to promos. It's like, give him a mic, let him go, and you have money in your pocket. You have money in the bank, if you will. So, it is kind of a toss-up, but again, I think what's going to happen is Tony Khan is going to probably want to go with Moxley because, here's the thing. They always want to make, the champion, even if they lose the title, look strong in the end. So I think they're going to go with Moxley and they're going to build up to a fatal four-way down the line between Omega, Page, and Cage, along with Moxley, and then that's how Moxley loses. He doesn't get pinned. Or anything, but he ends up losing. If they go the regular fatal four-way dance, and let's say Omega pins Cage, but doesn't pin Moxley, Moxley still looks strong. If Page pins Omega, same thing. If Cage pins either one of them, same thing. It'll still make Moxley look strong, even though he lost this. So I think that's what they're going to probably do, is they're going to go with Moxley winning in a heck of a violent match. There's no doubt about it's going to be that way. But I also see them, not only having him win, but doing so they can build him up to lose this championship in a strong way in a fatal four-way or a triple threat three-way dance scenario. I was trying to think of what I was going to say there. I do apologize for the pause, that is. But I do see that happening. I do see that potentially happening. So, anyway, though, guys, my prediction is Moxley. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if they did go with Kingston, kind of change the pace. But like I said, I think the reason they're going to go with him, with Moxley, that is because they're going to want to build up to a triple threat three-way dance or a fatal four-way dance where whoever wins the title in that match, Moxley will still look strong in the end because he won't be the one that got pinned. So that's what I think is going to happen. Anyway, though, guys, that's I know I sound like I rambled a little bit throughout this. So I do apologize. But that's pretty much going to do it for my All Elite Wrestling Full Gear pay-per-view preview for tomorrow night. I'm probably going to finally pluck down the $50 under the cable bill because the bill for last month comes in this weekend. The bill for next month comes in basically December. So hopefully I won't have to worry too much till then. So I'm going to probably pluck down the 50 to get to get Full Gear to see exactly, how far, how good this could be. And basically mostly to see how far and violent that main event will go. I mean, if you want a good idea of how violent it could go, just go back and watch Moxley and Omega from Full Gear last year and you'll see exactly what I mean. But anyway, though, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for this preview. Let me know what you all think down below. Comment if you like. And I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.